YNW Melly is back in court, facing shocking new developments that could change everything. His co-defendant just flipped. New evidence has come to light, and his mother is speaking out about years of mistreatment behind bars. From frozen cells and denied family visits to witness tampering allegations and social media leaks. The story is bigger and more intense than anyone expected. Stick around, because what's coming next could completely reshape how the world sees his case. YNW Melly was back in court today, and tensions ran high. His attorney argued that the state still hasn't provided enough evidence to justify keeping him behind bars, while prosecutors insisted they have plenty to prove he should stay in jail. The rapper's legal troubles date back years back in February 2020. He was involved in a fight with multiple inmates in his unit, which earned him a disciplinary report. Later that October, he was put on room restriction after refusing to return to his cell while on the phone, allegedly trying to hide. Now, Melly's lawyers are pushing for a plea deal, hoping to use a lawsuit against the county as leverage similar to the case with Borland. The goal is to secure his release, and a major announcement about this deal was expected today. In the lawsuit, Melly claims the Broward Sheriff's Office has treated him cruelly. He's asking for immediate release, arguing he hasn't been able to see or speak to his family for 3 years. According to his filing, he's been forced to live in freezing conditions, with little to no proper food for years. Melly's mother has spoken out about her son's time in jail, and her words paint a heartbreaking and disturbing picture. She describes conditions that no one should have to endure, let alone someone who has not even been convicted of a crime. According to her, her son has been subjected to harsh treatment, isolation, and severe restrictions that make everyday life in jail almost unbearable. She emphasizes that other inmates, even those with convictions, are allowed basic rights, such as making phone calls to family, writing letters, and receiving mail. Yet Melly has been denied even these fundamental privileges. Her frustration is palpable. "They don't treat him like a human," she said, her voice filled with pain and helplessness. She explained that for years, her son has had limited contact with the outside world, and the isolation has taken a heavy toll not just on him, but on their entire family. She described how he has been forced to live in freezing cold cells with inadequate food and minimal access to anything that resembles a normal living condition. For a mother, watching her child endure this, knowing he hasn't been proven guilty, is almost unbearable. She also shared that the jail staff have been inconsistent in enforcing rules, often making arbitrary decisions that further complicate his life. For example, she noted that while other inmates are allowed to receive letters and phone calls, her son's communication has been blocked repeatedly, leaving him cut off from the support of his loved ones. She expressed deep concern that the lack of communication is affecting his mental health and emotional well-being. How can he stay strong in a place that strips away every connection to the outside world? She asked. Her words also highlight the broader systemic issues in the jail system. She believes that inmates like her son, particularly those awaiting trial, are often treated unfairly because of bureaucratic rules that allow for unchecked discretion by jail authorities. According to her, the judge in her son's case has limited ability to intervene in the way the jail operates, which leaves families feeling powerless. Even when hearings are held to address mistreatment, the jail often operates independently, making it difficult to enforce any meaningful change. Beyond the physical hardships, she is also deeply concerned about her son's safety. Being a high-profile inmate has made him a target within the jail. Other inmates, motivated by status, influence, or simple opportunism, have allegedly singled him out. She fears that the combination of isolation, mistreatment, and potential targeting could put his life at risk. Her concern is not just theoretical. She points to documented incidents and testimonies that show he has been harassed and pressured repeatedly while incarcerated. Throughout all of this, her love for her son is unwavering. She talks about the emotional strain on their family, the sleepless nights, and the constant worry about his well-being. She wants people to understand that what's happening to her son is not just a legal case. It's a human story of suffering, endurance, and the fight for basic dignity. Her hope is that by speaking out, she can bring attention to his situation and pressure authorities to treat him fairly, with the rights and respect that every person deserves. In her words, the core of the problem is simple. My son hasn't been convicted of anything, yet he is being treated worse than someone serving a sentence. He deserves to be treated like a human being, not as if he's already guilty. Her plea is as much about her son's immediate safety as it is about justice, fairness, and humanity in the prison system. The lawsuit also alleges that the jail isn't keeping him safe. Reports indicate that inside his cell block, Melly has been targeted by other inmates, sometimes over commissary items or asserting dominance. This kind of treatment is common when new, high-profile inmates arrive, and according to the filing, Melly became an immediate target. News of YNW Melly's situation quickly spread across social media, igniting intense debates and drawing attention from fans, commentators, and industry figures alike. As the story circulated, people from all walks of life weighed in, offering opinions that ranged from harsh criticism to heartfelt sympathy. Social media platforms exploded with posts, threads, and videos dissecting the case, the jail conditions, and Melly's treatment, making it one of the most discussed topics in recent weeks. Among those voicing their opinion was commentator Charleston White, who took a firm stance. He argued that Melly, like anyone else, should not receive special treatment simply because of his fame. In his view, celebrity status does not exempt someone from the consequences of their actions, and holding Melly to a higher standard is part of the fairness the legal system requires. White's commentary resonated with some social media users who believe that justice should be impartial, and that being a famous rapper should neither protect nor punish someone beyond what the law stipulates. At the same time, others pushed back strongly, pointing out that regardless of a person's status or past, no one should be subjected to inhumane treatment while in custody. Critics highlighted the reports coming from Melly's family about the harsh conditions he has faced: lack of basic communication, poor living conditions, and restricted access to food and warmth. Many argued that the system's responsibility is to ensure safety and humane treatment, especially for individuals who have not been convicted of the alleged crimes. Social media users shared their outrage, calling attention to what they perceive as a troubling example of a broken system that punishes people before they are proven guilty. Even voices from the rap community weighed in. Veteran rapper OG Moosey expressed his sympathy, particularly for Melly's mother, acknowledging the emotional toll the situation has taken on her. He shared his perspective that the stress of watching a loved one endure unfair treatment can be overwhelming, particularly when the person's basic rights are denied. Moosey recounted meeting Melly's mother and witnessing firsthand how worried and exhausted she appeared, noting that the situation is deeply human and not just a legal case. His comments struck a chord with many fans, emphasizing that the story is about people's lives and emotions, not just headlines or court filings. The debate also touched on broader social issues, including the treatment of inmates in general, the disparity between high-profile cases and ordinary prisoners, and the accountability of jail authorities. Some argued that if Melly, a public figure, is experiencing mistreatment, countless other less-known inmates likely face similar or worse conditions without any public scrutiny. This prompted calls for reform, with people advocating for stricter oversight of jail systems and better protection of inmate rights. Meanwhile, fans and followers of Melly voiced their own emotional responses. Some expressed frustration, anger, and disbelief at the reported treatment he has received, while others debated the moral complexities of supporting someone facing serious criminal charges. Many reflected on the tension between seeking justice and advocating for humane treatment, highlighting the nuanced nature of the conversation. Overall, the viral attention created a dual narrative. On one hand, it spotlighted the harsh realities of the justice system and jail conditions, while on the other, it forced people to grapple with the ethical questions surrounding fame, accountability, and fairness. For Melly's family, supporters, and the wider public, the discussions were more than theoretical. They represented real concern for a young man's safety, his well-being, and the integrity of the legal process. In the end, the social media storm reinforced that Melly's case is not just a legal matter but a human story. It combines elements of celebrity culture, legal accountability, and systemic critique, making it a focal point for national conversations about justice, treatment of inmates, and the emotional cost borne by families navigating the criminal system. During today's court proceedings, federal authorities countered by arranging a deal involving Melly's ex-girlfriend, Mariah Hamilton. During her first court appearance, YNW Melly's ex-girlfriend, Mariah Hamilton, was offered a deal: testify against Melly, and she would be released. She accepted immediately, a move that spelled bad news for the rapper. On her drive home, she posted on Facebook, thanking her hometown and expressing love for her supporters. Things got worse for Melly after authorities discovered disturbing evidence on Mariah's iCloud account. The files showed that Melly had allegedly tried to prevent her from testifying a serious case of witness tampering. This isn't a minor offense. In Florida, it carries a potential life sentence, regardless of whether Melly committed the original crimes. The state has now filed 6 new charges against Melly and 2 others involved. The allegations include witness tampering, directing criminal activity, soliciting or conspiring to commit tampering, and unlawful use of a two-way communication device. Several of these charges carry life in prison if convicted, even if Melly were to win the original case involving Sackhazer and Juvie. A conviction for witness tampering could still send him to prison for life. Juvie's father has been aware of the tampering attempts for years and even spoke publicly about the extreme measures Melly used to communicate despite being banned from using a phone. According to reports, Melly and his associates used coded messages, referring to people with celebrity names like Rihanna or A$AP Rocky's baby mom, to try and influence witnesses. During court proceedings, prosecutors presented evidence to argue that Melly should not be granted house arrest. Text messages were shown where Melly seemingly admitted to the crime, responding to someone asking if he was okay with a casual "I did that" and a smiley emoji. Other messages revealed he was seemingly upbeat hours after the crime, showing no visible remorse for the deaths of his 2 friends. Footage presented in court showed Melly in the back left seat of a Jeep at the time of the incident, corroborated by testimony from Juvie's mother. This positioning is critical because it aligns with the prosecution's claims about how events unfolded inside the vehicle. In response, Melly's lawyers tried to push back, reminding the judge that no firearm was ever recovered in the original trial. They emphasized that without physical evidence, many of the assumptions about Melly's involvement remain unproven. Their argument aims to show that the previous trial lacked concrete proof, and therefore, Melly's actions should be reconsidered in light of these uncertainties. New developments in YNW Melly's case are raising serious concerns. Evidence now suggests that a drive-by occurred, with the opposing party driving away with the item in question. Meanwhile, prosecutors have been digging into his co-defendant, YW Bortland, trying to show that he may have been the bigger problem, not Melly. Bortland was booked into a Miami jail Monday night on an outstanding Broward County warrant for witness tampering. The warrant, obtained by Long Crime Network, alleges that between April 10 and July 22, 2023, Bortland and others knowingly misled a witness in Melly's trial to prevent them from testifying. The timing is key. Jury selection for Melly's trial began in mid, and a mistrial was declared on July 22, the same day the warrant claims Bortland engaged in witness tampering during a recent search of Bortland's home. Authorities found notes allegedly detailing juror positions and descriptions. The note suggests that if Melly had been found guilty, Bortland might have attempted to shield him. This kind of evidence raises eyebrows because keeping such detailed information at home is extremely risky and, frankly, careless. The situation becomes even more significant for Melly because if Bortland accepts his plea deal, it could validate much of the new evidence prosecutors plan to use against Melly. This includes questions about why rapper Fredo Bang picked Melly up on the side of the road on the night of the crime. Court records and digital evidence show that Melly sent drop pins to friends tracking his location in the early hours, and these so-called digital leashes help map his movements. After the crime, Bortland allegedly drove the victims, Sackhazer and Juvie, to the nearest hospital and hid nearby until Fredo Bang picked him up. Mariah's iCloud account provides proof, including calls Melly made while hiding. Prosecutors also plan to use social media evidence, including photos of Melly with Young Thug, claiming affiliation with certain street teams, hashtags like YNW for life, and other imagery to suggest gang ties. The most serious evidence comes from a former O-Block member, who revealed that Melly confided in King Von about how to handle certain people before they were arrested. This insider account, combined with Bortland's potential plea deal, could strengthen the prosecution's case, making Melly's situation even more precarious. In short, every new piece of evidence from digital footprints to social media activity, witness testimony, and co-defendant statements adds pressure on Melly's legal battle. With Bortland's plea deal looming, prosecutors may now have a stronger foundation to pursue additional charges or stricter sentencing. The deal YW Bortland accepted could be a game-changer for YW Melly's case. Bortland agreed to plead guilty as an accessory after the fact, receiving 10 years in prison plus 6 years of probation. But there's more to it. He also agreed to a proffer, meaning he must give a detailed factual account of the crime, essentially confirming that it happened. To break it down, when someone takes an accessory after the fact plea, they admit to helping cover up a crime after it occurred. This doesn't necessarily implicate them as the main perpetrator, but it confirms that the crime itself took place and that someone assisted afterward. In other words, Bortland now has to tell his side of the story, explaining what happened in his own words. This is critical because YNW Melly faces similar charges. The prosecution's case hinges on establishing exactly how the events unfolded, even if Bortlen doesn't directly name Melly. His account could fill in the gaps that prosecutors need to tie Melly to the crime. For example, if Bortlen describes what happened inside the car that night, it could prove that the deaths of Kaiser and Juvie were not a random drive-by, but part of a coordinated plan of evidence that could make Melly directly responsible. This kind of plea is sometimes called a gun plea because it forces the co-defendant to disclose critical details that were missing from the original investigation. In effect, Bortlen's cooperation could confirm the prosecution's theory and strengthen their case against Melly. Experts often call this a triple Lindy in legal circles, meaning Bortlen is flipping, telling everything he knows, and potentially reducing his sentence in exchange for full cooperation. It's a common strategy. After years awaiting trial and facing a possible life sentence, defendants are often willing to take a lesser sentence by cooperating. For Melly, this development could be devastating. If Bortlen's testimony aligns with the prosecution's evidence, it may directly implicate Melly in the deaths of Kaiser and Juvie. Essentially, the case now heavily depends on what Bortlen says in his proffer. Many expect he will confirm Melly's involvement, making this a pivotal moment in the trial.